The Best of Living in Iowa is funded in part by the Gilchrist Foundation. Founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interests of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.
Funding for this program was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation. Generations of families and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa Public Television.
Hello, this is Morgan Halgren. For 16 seasons, Living in Iowa told the tale of what it means to be uniquely Iowan. Tonight, we honor that spirit by bringing you another glimpse into our rich heritage with a few stories from our archives. In this episode of The Best of Living in Iowa, we'll reminisce about Iowa's one-room schoolhouses. Listen to the energy-filled family music of Justin Roberts and watch jugglers defy gravity at Jugglefest in Davenport.
The phrase days of youth brings back fond memories and evokes a feeling of nostalgia for a simpler and more carefree time in our lives. In our program tonight, we'll take a look at those days of youth through the eyes of 3 different generations. We'll cruise to a drive-in restaurant in Des Moines and hang out with some baby boomers reliving their days of youth. And we'll visit a 90s version of summer camp where today's youths are creating their future memories. But first, we'll go back to an earlier time when Iowa's landscape was dotted with one-room schoolhouses. And we'll see that those days were more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
More than 50 years ago, Gladys Downing began her teaching career. At age 18, she taught 5 students in a one-room schoolhouse named Pennington School.
It was just a big, happy family. We had a full curriculum when I had a small school. We cooked and we sewed, and we had lots of outside activities. And we'd go to the timber, and study the wildflowers.
Gladys is one of many Iowans with pleasant memories of one-room schools. Near the turn of the century, Iowans had built a schoolhouse every 2 to 3 miles. The buildings numbered nearly 12,000. One-room schoolhouses were commonly used in Iowa as late as 1950, and a few were still being used just 25 years ago. Gladys's memories reflect Depression-era Iowa.
Some little guy would bring in a half a gallon of milk, and somebody else would bring in some potatoes, and we'd have potato soup one day. We had to do our own janitor work, and we had the little house out back, and I had to be sure we had lots of catalog. Toilet paper was unheard of.
Gladys Downing's teaching certification was typical: graduation from high school and 1 additional summer of normal or teacher training. With her certificate, she was qualified to teach all 8 grades in such subjects as reading, writing, geography, arithmetic, and even hygiene. To teach such a diversity of subjects at so many grade levels took a great deal of scheduling, with lessons often changing each 10 to 15 minutes. And there were occasional discipline problems the young teacher would have to confront. How did she handle these?
With an iron rod. One experience I had when I was the 3rd year I taught, I had about 8 or 10 big boys, about as large as I was. See, I was only 19. And I found their tobacco in the coal house. And so I confronted them, and they did own up to it. Well, I lined them all up, and I had one get a stick, and we used the rod or the stick, and all but one, and he was too big. I couldn't get him out of his seat, so I didn't even try. But that night, I had a car, and I took every one of them home, and I explained to their parents why.
You have taught in a public school and you've taught in a one-room schoolhouse. What are the advantages of a one-room schoolhouse situation?
Well, I think really the children learning from the other children is the big thing, and more responsibilities.
This sentiment is echoed by Sam Wiley of Des Moines, who also taught in a one-room school.
I had 7 grades among the 15 students, and the recitation would be, there would be several questions asked, and it usually was that the children behind, the real alert ones, were getting just about as much out of it as the class was reciting. So they got an awful lot of crossover in grades and grade material.
Were you an art and music teacher as well as just the regular reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Well, that was an area that I was just a little bit shy on. But I was real fortunate. I had a 7th grade girl that knew more music than I'll ever expect to know. And when we had our little programs, our little pie supper that we had out there that we made $21 on, she took care of getting the songs ready. And so I took care of preparing the recitations that they had for that program.
And what was your role at recess in that time?
Well, I always went out and played in the games with the children. How to play handy over? Well, it's the same number on each side usually, and you take a nice tennis ball or softball of some kind and throw it over the building. And if you catch it, you get to run around the building and throw the ball at somebody, and if you hit them, then they're on your side.
With the advent of larger school buildings, handy over is a game that may be forgotten soon, as will the long-held honor of ringing the school bell.
Who got to ring the bell? That was a student that was a teacher's pet.
So who in your class got to ring the bell?
Well, that 7th grade girl, because she taught the music.
I attended a one-room country school for my first 8 years of schooling, and I had a lot of good feelings about it.
The Reverend Donald Gruber of Ames turned his warm sentiments into a book, The Life and Times of One-Room Country Schools.
This was a period in our history that hasn't been told very well, or maybe not at all, about really rural America. Not only, the school was the center of social activities, but threshing rings were even associated sometimes within the school district, where farmers, of course, had to get together at harvest time. It was hard work. And I think children today are missing hard work. And plus, doing it together with other people. It's not too bad if you're out there working in a field when there's other people side by side with you, sweating it out together,
Of course, some memories of sweat are not as sweet.
Some of these children maybe didn't even take a Saturday night bath because, after sweating and working at home and coming to school, they had a bad body odor. And one teacher finally was so upset by it, one family sent a note home with one of the children. That family said, your children have bad odor, please give them a bath. And the next day she got a note back from the parents that says, don't smell them, learn them.
Reverend Gruber acknowledges that the quality of education depended on the particular abilities of each teacher. He also notes the lack of facilities for differently abled children. Other problems included the attitude that it was more important to educate the boys than the girls, in spite of the fact that in his experience there were more women than men in teaching jobs. And children had to work schooling in around their chores, so homework was rarely assigned. While the one-room school education may have had some failings, there were parts of the curriculum that Reverend Gruber would like to see revived.
I think one thing that was emphasized quite a bit was penmanship. In fact, I have to say that I think today they must not teach penmanship because my children, I can't read when they write to us.
One story Reverend Gruber included in his book was this recollection of rural puppy love, written by Mary Vogt. We got Shep as a lovable ball of fur when I was 6. When I started going to the country school, Shep started also. My parents encouraged her to go with me. We walked to school 1.5 miles across the fields. That was a long way for a little girl to walk alone. How I loved to walk to school with Shep beside me, especially in the springtime. When I started high school and went in a different direction, Shep temporarily became confused, but she soon continued on to the country school with my brother. Fond memories like Mary Vogt's Shep and Little Bo Peep's sheep continue to tag along with those who found their first home away from home in a one-room schoolhouse. 70-some school buildings have been preserved as museums in Iowa by county historical societies. Other old buildings are being used as storage bins or have been converted into single-family homes. Most, however, are gone or are quietly crumbling. Their decline parallels the fading away of a lifestyle.
At one time or another, most parents have agreed to take their children to an event that doesn't particularly excite them. From what we hear, that isn't the case with parents attending a Justin Roberts concert. Roberts, who grew up in Des Moines, is well known for his family music albums, and it seems that moms and dads are as eager as their children to get a seat for one of his high-energy performances.
On a humid July day at the Central Presbyterian Church in Des Moines, more than 1,000 people enjoyed the music of Chicago singer-songwriter Justin Roberts. Roberts, who grew up in Des Moines, is well known nationally. The New York Times called him a rising star in children's music. Unlike most children's musicians, Roberts' popularity extends to adults as well as kids.
I like to call it family music because it's not written just for children, but for their parents too. And the songs are written in a manner that might appeal especially to the adults because it has elements of rock and roll and country and punk rock and various types of music that I enjoy. But the subject matter is often about the life of a child.
Somewhere way out, way
So I just write something that I would enjoy listening to myself as an adult. And you know, there's little bits of dry humor that I think are funny. And I mean, sometimes I have an idea of what might make a kid laugh, but I also know what's going to make an adult laugh, I think, too.
there lives a starfish, wants to be a carfish, but there's no such thing, he's always told.
So like on the new record, there's a song called Way Out, and it's about all these different animals that want to be somewhere else other than where they are, which is maybe kind of more of an adult idea than it is what you might think in a kid's song. But there's a line about a starfish wanting to be a carfish, and I was sure when I wrote that kids like really absurd things. It makes them laugh when it clashes. But there's also a line about this woman driving a Datsun car, which only an adult's going to know about because they're not made anymore, and it's like from a certain time period. But you know, that part always makes an adult laugh because they're like, a Datsun, oh my gosh.
Well, here's a happy song you could sing along.
Robert's music is kid-tested and mother-approved. Robert's 3 most recent CDs have received the prestigious Parents' Choice Gold Award, an endorsement that means high quality in children's products. Yellow Bus and Way Out were picked by Amazon.com as among the top 10 children's records of the year. It all started with the release of his 1998 album, Great Big Sun.
I used to work at a preschool when I was playing in a band in Minneapolis as a day job. I started writing songs for the kids there and found that I could do it pretty well. And then I kept doing it after I wasn't working there and had no reason to be writing songs, you know, for kids because I didn't have any and I wasn't around any. But after a period of time, I had like 10 or 12 children's songs, and I recorded those songs and sent them as a demo to all my friends, none of whom had kids because we were all in our 20s at the time. And one of the people I sent it to was Liam Davis, who is my producer now. And he just loved them and thought it'd be a great idea to record these and get them on CD.
And on the first couple of records, it was just Justin and me, and he played his bit, and then I played what I played, and sometimes we played together. And then increasingly, as we've worked more and more with a band, the songs are written more with a live band or a full band in mind. And so we end up tracking with a group of musicians.
Building a backyard spaceship to the moon.
Just as Robert's music appeals to listeners young and old, his performing venues range from big festivals to shopping malls to churches to small classrooms. Perhaps his most loyal fans are his parents, Dawn and Steve Roberts of Des Moines.
We're groupies. Anytime he's around here, we've traveled to Minneapolis to see him. We go to Chicago to see his, he has this, the last 2 summers he's played at Ravinia, which he had sold the place out, had 7,000 people. And so it's, we're probably obnoxious parents at times, but we really are awfully proud of him.
That's the way it is on picture day.
From a very early age, Justin Roberts found himself connected to music. As a youngster, he learned the piano and guitar, sang solos in local area shows, and helped start a high school rock band. In college, he formed an acoustic folk band, and during that time studied philosophy of religion, but wound up teaching preschoolers part-time. Though music is now full-time, Roberts often guest teaches in communities where he is performing.
Yeah, okay, but we want picture, number, word, body, music, self, or people. Which smart part is it when you know how you're feeling inside? How about in the stripes right there? Self smart part, excellent answer. Give her a big round of applause. The self smart part.
Roberts uses his songs and writing skills to help kids appreciate lyrics, creativity, and music.
And what we're doing at the Academy is we're doing a songwriting workshop with 4th to 7th graders where we're going to break them into small groups and get them each to write a short song. We do a little demonstration about what we call the 4 S's of songwriting. Then we walk around and help them compose a song, and at the end, Liam and I will perform the 4 or 5 songs that the different groups have written.
Where have you been, oh ladybug? He was a bully and he beat up all the guys. He bullied one.
Justin Roberts' songs are loved for their enduring melodies, eclectic, contemporary styles, and thought-provoking lyrics. He even takes on bullying, a subject near to the hearts of kids and their parents.
And when I started writing the song, it was very easy to write a song about what all the bullies did and all the bad things that happened. But in terms of resolving the song, I didn't want to be like, don't bully, because it just would not be that interesting to a kid or an adult, and it's not going to change anything telling someone not to do something like that. But instead, I made it a really open-ended ending where, you know, ultimately it's like all the other kids in the school are standing up to bullying, but I don't say that that's what's happening in the song. The song ends with this little girl named Sally McCabe standing on the lunchroom table, and she puts her finger in the air to stop bullying, but there's these 2 bullies that are going to beat her up. Like, what would happen if somebody did that? But then the end of the song is, then it started one by one by one by one. It happened one by one by one by one. And the idea is that all the other kids in the lunchroom are standing up to the bullying, and maybe it stops, but I don't say that. I let people interpret.
Roberts' career is much more than just writing music. He records his own songs, sells his own records, and interacts with his ageless fans in energetic performances.
The thing I love about playing for children is they don't understand the boundaries of a performance or a stage or what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Kids just do what they feel like doing, and I think that it's fun to see that. You kind of wish adults didn't always have those things blocking them that makes them stop from just standing up and dancing or, you know, doing something kind of crazy and silly. You know, the thing that I love about seeing children jump up and dance at concerts, and adults sometimes do the same, or a father doing something silly when he normally wouldn't, is that you're alive right now. You take advantage of it and do whatever you can to feel like you're alive.
Still ain't come now, yellow bus, take it too long, my yellow bus. Yellow bus, take it too long, my yellow bus. Well, it's 3 o'clock, now it's 4 o'clock.
We're often amazed by the hidden talents of ordinary Iowans, but a trip to the Quad Cities Jugglers Convention last year left our heads spinning. The convention tosses together people of like mind who communicate using jargon unknown to outsiders. But even though their lingo was completely new to me, you'll see how easily I caught on to the meaning of a drop.
When men turn 40, they do strange things. They get a new car, a new wife, a new hairpiece. I didn't do any of those things. I just learned to juggle, but I still get the really funny looks.
The look on my face was amazement when I entered this room full of flying objects. The Quad Cities Jugglefest is an unconventional convention where first-time and expert jugglers come from all around America to share their ring, club, and ball-tossing talents.
I explain it as a family reunion with spectators. We want to spread the joy, not just keep it all to ourselves.
Dusty Galbraith promotes his joy of juggling as president of the Quad Cities Juggling Club, which hosts this annual event. His spin on the sport is that once the balls get flying, they're hard to stop.
And what did you learn about yourself when you acquired this skill?
That you can do anything. If you just stick with it, you practice, you got to not be afraid to look foolish. Bend over and pick them up off the floor. That's what makes a juggler. You pick them up one more time, then you drop them.
It's important to stick with it to learn a new trick that you can share. These rhythmic movements are like musical duets in a giant juggling jam session.
It's like a jam session. Musicians get together and play. You can jump in with somebody and pass a little bit, just like this. You want to catch one?
Sure.
Here we go. There you go. Not too bad, Morgan.
What is the public perception about juggling, and how far is that from the truth?
Oh, I think people think it's very difficult, and it's really not that bad at all. It's just a matter of time. I think it gives folks a lot of self-confidence. It's so magical when you first see it, and it's just sort of a way to relax, sort of a meditative groove you can get into.
Dean first experienced jugglemania in parking lots outside Grateful Dead concerts in San Francisco.
So I thought everybody that juggled was an old hippie from San Francisco or something. And when I come to these conventions, it's just like a cross-section of society. You run into about anything. I can't believe the level of talent just walking around the gym in a place like this.
Even the best jugglers were novices at one time, so I tried my hands in the beginner's class.
The first thing I want you to do is take 2 balls and set them down against the wall behind you, because we got to start with 1 ball.
As with any sport, you train your mind and body by repeating the basic elements. After mastering the 1-ball toss,
you are already a juggler. You are already manipulating an object for no apparent reason, and you are juggling 1 ball. You're already a juggler. Congratulations, jugglers. Okay.
That encouragement may have been a little premature. The trick is to juggle more balls than you have hands, which is, well, tricky.
Thank you.
Morgan, how you doing over here?
Well, I'm chasing it, actually.
Chasing is fine, too.
After a half-hour crash course, my future as a juggler was definitely up in the air. Ben Schoenberg from Portland, Oregon, says he felt the same frustration when he met the juggling challenge at age 13.
You just train your arms and muscles to throw them in the right way, just like you're learning to play tennis or play piano, and almost anybody could do it.
What do you like about it?
Well, there's a real thrill when a new idea comes into your head and you try to get your hands to do it and the balls do what they're supposed to finally. There's a joy in watching these shapes be created in the air. What you're striving for as a juggler is to perfect something that seems impossible. And when it finally does come along, it's only hard work that makes it happen.
That hard work helped Ben build up his arm strength enough to last 5 minutes in the 5-ball endurance competition. The winner is the last person standing. I mean juggling.
I guess I've learned to be patient with myself, and you can't give up on yourself or you're not going to learn.
These ladies are part of a rich history of juggling in the Davenport area, where a young Betty Gorham Weiler's professional career took a new spin. Betty entertained troops for the USO during World War II and recently donated meaningful memorabilia in hopes of inspiring a new generation of lady jugglers.
As a young girl, she saw a circus, learned to juggle, and wound up going around the world 6 times.
Scott Zuziak dreams of actually joining the circus and really gets fired up about juggling.
It's a great challenge. It's good exercise, and it just grows on you, and you just want to do it more and more. Well, for me, it's really inspiring just to see like other great jugglers, and just makes me want to work harder.
The convention is a mix of hobbyists and professionals. Dean has struck a balance between the two. His day job is as a math professor at the University of Northern Iowa, but he spends many weekends as a traveling performer, showing off his skills and throwing in a lot of comedy. Here, Dean juggles a funny combination of a small rubber ball, a bowling ball, and a grape.
There we go.
On Saturday night of this weekend-long event, several of the conventioneers are invited to play on stage. Just who will be asked to perform is a toss-up. Anyway, here are a few of the highlights of this juggling jamboree. For audiences and performers alike, juggling is a mesmerizing and magical way to master gravity. And for those of you grasping for a deeper meaning,
You're always going to drop. You're going to mess up in life a little bit too, so you just kind of shake it off and enjoy the ride, I think.
The Best of Living in Iowa is funded in part by the Gilchrist Foundation. Founded by Jocelyn Gilchrist, furthering the philanthropic interests of the Gilchrist family in wildlife and conservation, the arts and public broadcasting, and disaster relief.
Funding for this program was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation. Generations of families and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa Public Television.